If it's not bright enough, go back in, add a little bit more white. I don't know, maybe it come down, maybe it was over here, and it, right, maybe it came down, and this guy was like hiding all of that shadow here. Just start tapping, right, bouncing it down. So maybe out there, smallest little touch with the brush. Hi, welcome back to Paint with Josh. You look fantastic. What have you done to your hair? Either way, let's get to this painting over here. We did an 18 by 24 inch soft pink sunset, giant mountain, huge trees, a lot of texture, turned out fantastic. You obviously think so, that's why you clicked on the link. So check the description down below. Make sure you get all the colors you need. Make sure you get your canvas nice and wet. Get ready to throw some paint on. We're gonna do it just like this. Hey, back in the studio, it's Paint with Josh. I wanted to show you just real quickly today some of the brushes we're gonna be using. We're gonna use a 2-inch brush. We're gonna use that half round brush, the 1-inch brush, obviously, right? I'm gonna go with 2 different fan brushes. They don't have to be different sizes or this big. You can use whatever you want. We're gonna go with a little teeny tiny liner brush and then a palette knife. You don't have to have the exact same things that I do, of course. It is a little easier if you have the correct tools, but you gotta make it work, right? I'm on a budget just like everybody else, and I bought my stuff over many, many months. So let's get ready to do this. All right, gonna go through the colors we have today. So we have our bright red, our phthalo blue, our alizarin crimson, midnight black, and titanium white. We have an 18 by 24 inch white canvas, and it's been covered with Bob Ross liquid white. Just a small amount is all you really need. If you have too much, it'll get too sloppy. So very small amount, and if you ever feel like you have too much, take a paper towel and scrub it off. And then just, smooth it with your brush, you'll be all good to go. All right, let's get a little bit of color onto the canvas, and then we're gonna rock and roll with the 2-inch brush. So why don't we put that guy right here, right on the edge, so we know we're gonna use that in a second, and we'll use our 1-inch brush just to get a little color down. So grab right into the red. Don't need to get a whole lot onto the brush, just a little bit. A little bit, maybe start below the halfway line, right? And come down in here, maybe come up in here. Just the more that we mix with this liquid white, the more it's going to lighten on our brush. So why don't we come over this side, and I'll show you a trick. If you ever have that wooden piece back behind your canvas, I'll show you a trick to get rid of that. No worries at all. A little bit more red in here. I love the pinky skies, right? And the more red you use, the more it's going to be deep red. If you want it to be nice and soft pink, allow that red to mix in with that white. Now let's go into the crimson. That's gonna be the next darkest color that we have. And I like to work from lightest to darkest colors. So we'll go right into the crimson, and maybe our crimson will come in from up here. Just a little. I'm gonna leave a nice area, this white area, and that way it'll be able to blend together on its own. So a little bit of crimson, that's just not different enough. I mean, maybe to you guys, but not to me. So I'm gonna add a little bit more paint, really stretch it and blend it. And then when we go back in with our 2-inch brush is when we really have a lot of fun blending all those colors out, getting all crazy, right? There we go. That's that little white area I want to have right there. And I'm going to come in with our blue, just straight onto the brush. We haven't beat the devil out of the brush yet. We will do that, but it's not going to happen yet. So just like this, coming in from the top, let it mix in with that crimson up here. You get that nice purpley color. Very cool. It's going to allow it to blend all that liquid white that we covered our canvas with. It's fantastic. All right, let's put some of that purpley stuff over here as well. We just do our whole canvas, the rest of it anyway, in that purpley mix. And again, down around here at the bottom, you don't want to have a whole lot of color. You don't want to have a whole lot of paint on the canvas because we're going to continually layer and layer and layer on top of itself, right? So the more paint that you have initially, the harder it's going to be, right? And we're going to continually layer the sucker. So just a little bit, I have it a little bit darker down here in the corner. And now we'll get our big old 2-inch brush out and have a whole lot of fun. 2 inches is big, ladies, okay, when we're talking about painting. Come on. Come on. Somebody said that in the comments one time, and it made me laugh so hard. I was like, I have to remember to say that. And then I finally said it enough times that someone else commented, and they were like, 2 inches is big? I'm like, yes, finally. And get it going, get it going. All right, we're just covering the edges with our dark color, that bluish, blackish mixture, whatever was on the brush. That's all I really want to do for this side. Keep it nice and dark. So it only takes a few minutes, a few seconds really. Bam, knock that out. Especially if you prep the side of your canvas with liquid white, that helps. If not, then it takes a while to get that color to stick on there, right? And on this canvas, we didn't. Let's be honest, we didn't do it. So it takes a little bit longer just to get that stuff to cover over on the edges. And that way, at least if you're lucky enough to sell your painting, that you have your sides finished. And at least your buyer doesn't have to frame it, right? That's the worst. You go, hey, here, buy this painting from me. And now, oh, sorry, it looks all sloppy on the sides. Go buy a frame for it too, right? That's kind of mean when I think about it. So I like to at least finish mine on the edges, and that way, if it gets purchased, then at least they can just take it straight out of the box and hang it right up. That's what we like to do anyway. All right, let's have a whole lot of fun with this 2-inch brush. And we're gonna blend out this, I was just looking for the brush. Go, where's the brush? I can't find the brush. Okay, right here, 2-inch brush into the lightest area first, right? Dragging some of that white kind of down into the red, allowing that pink to start taking over. Look at that. And the less that we do, right? If I mix it all, then it's all gonna be the same. But if you leave a few little kind of flatter, darker areas, they might look like far away little clouds by the time you end up getting done blending it. Right, into our lightest color, very lightly over that white area, just so light, because I don't want it to go away. I want it to stay there. It's nice and pretty. And I'm gonna come up into that crimson, but I'm not gonna touch our blue area yet. I don't wanna do that. All right, we're gonna come over here, put our foot on the old easel because it's shaking so hard. There we go. Blend that crimson-y down, just kind of leaving that little slit, that light area right there. And maybe that's the sun kind of peeking through. Who knows? Who knows what yours is gonna look like? I'm looking at mine, and that's kind of what mine looks like to me. There we go. Crisscross strokes, you blend out all those little swipes, right? And this is why we allow that white area in between our dark colors, in between any color really, and to allow it to kind of blend itself together. Oh, it's just so gorgeous, right? Take some of that darker color down here. Come down, down, down to Chinatown. There we go. Just have little differences everywhere, right? Very lightly over that light area. If you have too much paint on your brush, and it's gonna go crazy. Get covered real fast. Out here, we're going out into the blue, into the pink. Out into the blue, into the pink. Bringing it out, bringing it back in. Crisscross stroking, right? Back and forth. All that does is blend it together. Back and forth, and back and forth, and back and forth, back and forth. So, well, we're not actually touching softly. It's just nice and relaxing to hear it softly, I guess. There we go. See how we come out into the blue, and then I'm very lightly coming into the pink, just kind of trying to get rid of these soft little lines. Right? The more times you come out here and then put your brush like that, it's gonna leave a nice little line right there, right? And now you have to blend out. So let that gray kind of work its way into the pink, making the most gorgeous sky you've ever seen. It's gorgeous! Oh my goodness. It is gorgeous. I just love it. Okay, now, all right, I told you about that little trick I was telling you about. Let me try not to get paint on myself. Get paint on my sleeves, and London gets mad at me. So, oh, you guys haven't seen the new fresh tattoo. I bet you haven't anyway. It's got a little paintbrush right inside here, like the tendons of my arm. It's a little paintbrush. I must have paintbrushes in here like Wolverine. Okay, so we're gonna come back. That piece of wood back in between here. You can see it's left like little lines, little straight lines up and down the canvas. It's so annoying. I don't like it, right? But if you can get your hand back in between that little beam and your canvas itself and just provide a little bit of pressure outwards, you can mix those lines all the way away. Watch this. My hand is also going down. Wherever my brush is, that's where my hand is trying to go down to push the canvas away from that beam. And then poof, get rid of those little lines, just like that. Fantastic. Fantastic, I love it. Okay, let's go up here. Let's pull these down. Oh, there we go. All right. Come down around the bottom just like this. Nice and easy, blend it out. I think I just hit Bob with, oh, I did on that one, my goodness. Hit Bob with the brush. Let's hear what he has to say today. Let's wash the old brush. It is the fun part. Just beat the devil out of it. I love that. I love it. I don't beat mine onto the the easel itself, it would spray all over my house, and then my wife London would really be mad. So I use a little beater bucket, and then I've got tons of beat the devil out of it videos on my TikTok and on my YouTube shorts and Facebook Reels and all that stuff. So whatever platform you're watching this on, whether it be Facebook or TikTok or YouTube, go to the other ones and find Paint with Josh, and let's just follow me everywhere. And if I can get all of them to sort of even, like TikTok, I'm at like 90,000, right? YouTube, we just broke over 7,000. On Facebook, we're like 21,000. So guys, go over to the different platforms, follow me everywhere. It really helps. It really helps. It really does. All right, let's go in here. Just taking that last, any little bit that we don't like, right? Pushing a little bit harder, blending it a little bit more. Crisscross strokes, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I love that. Nice little pink into this dark gray and then into that real dark purple up there. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. All right, go back here. And now we're gonna wash the brush. Speak of the devil. Speaking of beating the devil out of it, let's wash the brush, right? All right. Excellent. I hope I've been recording. Okay, good. We've been recording. That's good. Man, that's a good looking sky right there. All right, 11 minutes from start to nothing, start to finish right here. So lightly, just so you don't get rid of that light area, right? Even take a step back and go, all right, maybe it's a little bit too bright. Bring some of that pink down, but I don't want to get rid of it. I want it to be there. And I mean, I'm way back here now. Ooh, that's nice. Maybe I'll bring some of this pink up just a littlest bit, right? All depends on what you want yours to look like. And then do your sideways strokes to smooth it all out. Step back and see. Oh man, that looks neat. What if we shot like a bit of sunlight out of there? It's implied anyway. That's what's happening. Okay, let's do a little bit more blending up here to hold the canvas, because I fear that it's going to fall out if I don't. There we go. Very light pressure in some areas, very hard pressure in other areas. Now I got to wash the brush again. There we go. All right, gotta have clean utensils when we go to paint, right? That is gorgeous. Okay, let's get ready to throw some just giant white clouds in there. We don't need any shadows. We don't need anything. Grab one of those fan brushes that we have. Just like that. I'm gonna load that guy full of paint. I mean, not like giantly full. I'm pushing it down. You see what I'm doing here, right? Pushing it down, stretching it. It's very flat, but there's a lot of paint on there, right? I mean, that's almost the size of a quarter. I would say that's a lot of paint. If I had that on my hand, I would consider that a lot. So, just like that. I always forget to put the dang palette down. Okay, so we're gonna come in with our white, just like this. Boom, come over and knock the camera. Maybe we'll come up here. Just start writing like you're writing in cursive. Just popping up every so often. Coming down, maybe we'll come back up here. Just mushing it. Just getting it everywhere. But leaving room for things to grow, right? You have to leave that room. You cannot just expect it to turn out perfectly if you don't leave room for them to grow, okay? Let's start over here so everybody can see. We'll go from the right to the left, or the left to the right, right? Come back over here. Did I say that right? I think I said that right. So lightly, just barely, so softly touching. Oh gosh. Oh, it's just the smallest little bit. Oh yes. Oh yeah, look at that. Oh man, those are great. Right, just a little bit of mixing. It allows it to blend in with the colors that are underneath, which is why we have to put those down there first, right? And that's just a simple little way to get a soft little bit of white puffy clouds out there in your sky. Now, let's see. We'll add one more little bit. So we're gonna go the same brush right back into the same pile of paint on the same corner. Haven't used the other corner yet. This is nice and clean. Then we're gonna come up here, knock the camera over, and then, I don't know, maybe there's a little bit off here. Just a little, some sort of something, right? Again, almost like we're writing in cursive. Take our brush like that, come up here. So softly, it wants to really mix in with that pink. And here it's going to, right? It's got all those dark colors. You have these soft little bits of white. Maybe you take some of that pink and drag it out into your kind of bluish grayish color. It makes it look really cool. Let's do a little bit of that. Why don't we come over here, grab a little bit more of that white. We'll bring some out here. Go back with our brush every so often. You just check and you look and you go, okay, that looks kind of cool. That looks kind of cool. I'll do a little bit more of that, or I'll do a little less of that. You know what I mean? I'll add a little bit more paint. We'll do this or we'll do that. You can always go back. We start with just a small amount. So you can constantly go back and continue to add more, right? If you go just super hard in the paint, like James Barlage's channel, Hard in the Paint, if you go in there, it's a cool pun for a painting channel, because it's a basketball term, but he's using it for painting, which is kind of cool, hard in the paint. But yeah, if you go real thick, then you don't have anywhere to go, right? Once you put too much on, it's too much. Too much is too much. Let's go back up here, one more little bit. Maybe out in here. Just really dumping on a little bit of brightness. Just like that. Oh my goodness, I love it. Just a little mess. Look at that, right here. Same circles that we're always doing, leaving a little bit of differences, right? Light, dark, light, dark, light, dark. You have to leave those differences. What do we call them? Around Paint with Josh, the super squatters know. What do we call them? Differences in color. That's what we call them. Wicked. Love that. You got to have your differences in color, right? So even if it's white, there's real bright white, and then a little bit less, a little bit more gray into our darker sky color, and then poof, back to the white again. You know what I mean? It's a progression, and then layers, 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 layers. Gotta layer it. So even out here, if it's not bright enough, go back in, add a little bit more white. But don't try to cover the same spot, right? Initially, I was way out here with the first bit of cloud, and then way up here. So for this one, we're gonna go a little bit inside and a little bit lower with a little bit thicker paint, a little bit more paint on the brush, right? And that way, that's gonna stand out as in front of any softer bit of cloud that's back there. You don't have to connect them all. They don't all have to be the same size. That's the best part about clouds. They don't have to do anything. Same brush, by the way. Haven't washed the brush yet. Not the 1-inch brush. Haven't washed the old 1-inch brush. Bang, bang, bang. Just mixing it up. You want to have that twisty, turny motion. And then we're going to grab our 2-inch brush that we did wash. Maybe come from the side on these guys. Back and forth. Just so lightly, though. I'm not trying to smush them and drag them across the canvas, right? And come over here. Maybe on these guys will go up. And go up like that. Actually, let's do this for the TikTok. You have to make it good, Josh. Just like that. Bam, bam. Come up here. Swiping up. Go to the side. Very soft, right? I'm not trying to move the paint. Look at this area right here. I don't like that. It's kind of weird, right? It's too thick. It's kind of weird right there. So why don't we just mess it up a little bit? Mess it up, change it up, maybe push a little bit harder and drag it out that way. Who knows? I'll go over here. Maybe we'll push this guy and drag him up here. What's going to look the best? Ooh, that kind of looks cool. That kind of looks cool. Get that hair out of there. That might look better. But what's going to look the best to you? You know what I mean? How does yours look? Doesn't matter what mine looks like if yours looks totally different. I love popping up with those crazy little sharp bits of cloud. I love, for some reason, I don't know. I saw one the other day and I was like, that's it. I am loving that. And that will be my cloud for the next few weeks at least. We're going to learn as many ways as we can make this little messy cloud nice. And put a little bit of white underneath here. Just again, mixing it, smushing it, mashing it onto the canvas. Being rough. Leaving those differences though. White into the dark, bam, hit it with the fresh white again, right? It's not about covering everything or having it all be the same. You gotta have those, what guys? What are they called, guys? I just told you earlier. What are they called? Somebody say it in the comments. I'm not painting until you write it in the comments. What is it called? Differences in color. I know, I didn't leave you enough time to type it in, but you understood. You knew. You knew. Okay, let's take a little bit time. We're gonna wash this old brush off. And remember, if this is the first time you're watching a Paint with Josh video, tell me where you're watching from and what's your favorite sandwich. Write it in the comments of whatever platform you're watching on right this second. Give it a go. Now, you guys ready to make up the most gigantic mountain you've ever seen? Let's get a little bit of black, a little crimson, a little of our blue. We're gonna mix all three of those colors very vigorously right here. Just take out all your frustrations from the day. Like, how dare you make me do that extra report? No, I didn't wanna do that. And now you are gonna pay for it, paint. Oh, right, just mush it. Really get it in there. Scrub it in, because that is what you need. You don't wanna have a lot of, different striations of those three colors. You really gotta get it all mixed up. So pick somebody's name and just really mix it in there, right? Okay, now we're gonna pull that out a little flat, just enough, big enough for your knife blade. You don't wanna pull it out real skinny and then have this whole big knife, right? So pull it out big enough for your knife, wipe it off so you got a clean surface anyway, cleanish. Come back in here, scrape up a little bit of that paint, and then we're gonna come in, whoop, that's a big chunk hanging off the end. There we go, just like that. Fair amount, it's probably 1/8 of an inch, good chunk of paint. We're gonna come up here and just decide, I don't know, maybe it come down, maybe it was over here and it popped up. Ooh, there's that little centerpiece in the canvas that always bugs us, right? Just like that. Only worried about what the top line looks like, right? Everything else is garbage. We don't have to worry about it until later. There we go. You can start to plan out what your mountain's gonna look like and scrape up extra paint that you've dropped off to continue making it, right? Let me come up here. Just like that. Oh my, oh my. Right? Any part of the clouds that you want to cover, scrape off just in case you have any bit of paint up there. You don't want the clouds mixing in. Right? So what if we came down? What if we came up again? A little bit higher. Ooh. Oh, I like this guy. Always have enough paint on your knife to where you're going to leave that line up at the top as you're squishing it down, right? Very cool. Very cool. Maybe he's got another little hump back here. Oh, yes. Oh, that is pretty. That is a good looking mountain right there. I'm gonna scrape up, if we've got all of our light over here, maybe I'm gonna try to leave some of that dark paint untouched in the shadowy areas, right? Maybe have some of that darkness in as our deep dark shadow. And of course, it's gotta be on the back side of where your sun's coming from, right? Anywhere else, we've already really scraped some of that up. And you can even drop it down here, look. Like literally like you're making a little water line. Drop it down, see what it looks like. You never know what your mountain is gonna look like until we start pulling it out with the brush. So don't worry about it. Get a little bit of paint somewhere, get a little bit of paint everywhere. That's what it's about, making a mess, right? We'll do our little tri-peak action over here. Maybe these guys need to come up a little bit higher. Just a little bit. Oh yeah, there we go. I like that a little better. A little softer, there we go, not so steep. Ooh, I like him. He's got like a little two-peaker right here. All right, maybe this guy came up a little bit higher as well. Who knows? Oh, just gotta play. Oh, you know what? Let's go like this. Let's come up here. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's the ticket right there. See, it all depends on just playing around. What does yours look like? Because sometimes you think it's gonna look all right, and then if you add something, you're gonna be like, ooh, I can't believe that worked. Or that it's gonna look like this, that's gonna be cool, right? Take the rest of that dark paint, let's save it for later. Just wipe it on the old palette. Still haven't washed this brush from making clouds, and we really don't need to. So we're gonna take that 1-inch brush like this, come up and knock the camera over, come over here. So soft, right? I mean, a little bit of pressure. But as we're doing this, we're deciding what our mountain looks like. Don't just pull it all the same, all quick, because your mountain's not gonna have any depth, right? Maybe right here, you had like this little ridge that came back. Look, I mean, it's already there in our mind. I can see it. That's why I just pulled the brush that way, because I could see it, right? All depends. What does yours look like? Come back up here. Maybe this side kind of fell back in there, but then the top, I don't know, shot back down here. Very steep, very steep. All these rocks are at different angles. Maybe this side got pulled this way. Maybe it falls back into a little valley back here. Again, what does yours look like? It's not about what mine looks like. Ooh, what if this guy was down here? Oh man, it's so cool. You just sit and play for hours with these things. Like how do you want it to look? You can't just do it randomly, right? Didn't put any paint on the brush. And come back in here. Maybe we'll take that side. This will be our lighter side as we come down. Kind of pulling it down, feeding it in. Don't want to cut off all the other angles that we had, right? Maybe that'll be the light side of our mountain, and then all this shadowy area will pull down at a different direction. Don't want to pull it too hard, it'll stretch too far. Just like that. Fantastic. Right? All these different directional pulls. If we're going this way, then our snow and our land is sliding down this way, right? And then if we have a little bit of dark, if we ran out, add a little bit more onto our brush and kind of create that little ridge that's right there. Right? And we come back here, all depends on the angle. Look, I'm changing. Everything is at a different angle, right? Maybe these guys, and we'll decide when we get our highlights in there. Maybe it lit up a little bit, maybe it went the other way. We'll decide what it looks like when we get there. Very soft back here. If you leave it very soft, maybe it could be some faraway snow, some sort of valley, some sort of something. But you don't have to worry too much about it. I'll wash that old brush off now. Now it's got a lot of dark color on it. Nice and dry, it's fantastic. Yeah, that's gonna be cool. That is a cool one. It's even like too much. Watch, I'm gonna grab a little bit of color from up here just by running my brush through the top and then come back in and just start mixing up little things. There we go. Just see if we can add a little bit of depth. A couple little shadows back in there. Don't want it to all be the same, right? Oh yeah. Oh, see, just the smallest little things, little dabs of blue. Go back, mix it up. You add a little bit of shadowing. All right, back into our mountain. Very cool. Don't want to take too long doing it. So let's come over here. Going to grab up our blue. Spread it out down here. Get a good amount of white because the blue is very powerful. It's going to want to take over that white. Very powerful. Don't grab that red in there. That's not going to be good. Stay away from that little pile of red. Move over a ½ inch, right? Again, take out your frustrations. Mix up that color, right? Until you get all that white off the bottom. Anytime you get that white, it's going to look like snowy highlights where you want snowy shadows, okay? Now that we have that nice bluey color, we're going to grab up a little bit of that darkness and blend that in, and then leave it sort of grayish blue. Bam, just different though. See all those little differences in there? Little stripes of color. And it's going to look 100% different when you mix yours, right? Obviously. And that's why all of our paintings are going to be so different and so gorgeous. Here, we're going to grab up a little bit of that our white. And let's take a little bit of the red as well. Why don't we come down here, we'll make like this pinky kind of highlighty color. And then we'll have our pure whites. It's just a kiss of the sunshine, right? Just like that. Again, the reds and the blues, they are so powerful when you mix them with white. There we go. So if you want to keep it nice and bright, you got to have a fair amount of white in there. Now we're going to come back, we're going to do our shadows first. Why don't we grab up our blue color, just scrape it up on the edge of the knife, just like this. And on the back side, and sometimes you got to turn your knife and you got to do different things to make your mountain look kind of cool. Right? It's never about using it 100% the same way or, you know, being like a robot. If it doesn't work like this, I cannot use it, right? Turn your hand, rotate. Sometimes you got to use it backwards, right? Someone asked me about a left-handed palette knife the other day, and I was like, I'm pretty sure if you just flip it over, there's a, you know, it's the same. And she's like, oh, well, mine has a beveled edge. And I'm like, mine is just a flat blade. There's no beveling to it. All right, take some of that blue, slide it out. You get all these cool little things happening, right? Take a little bit of our dark color and you want to stay next to the edge and let it blend back into that blue. So decide wherever your little ridge is, that's where you want your darkest shadows to be. And then you can allow those little bits of darkness to blend back into that blue. There we go. Learn how to talk, Josh. And you get your dark shadows right where they would be darkest, right? Okay, back to that same bluey color because I love doing the shadows first, right? Maybe this guy was like straight down and then he came down and hit down here. But we don't want to have too many shadows on our highlight side. So come back over here, half of this peak. I'm gonna start to bring him back. Slide him back. He's gonna start to mix in with this little valley back here, right? And sometimes that little beam that we talk about can be a pain in the butt. There we go. Just like that. I mean, even with that beam, mixing it with the darkness, you know, it looks fantastic. Fantastic. come down here where we had pulled down in our different direction, right? We've laid ourselves out a little guide, a little roadmap about where we need to put our shadows and where we need to put our highlights, right? Now, the fun part, the highlights. Let's even grab a little bit more white and mix them up. Bam, just like that. Scrape up that little bit of pink. You know what? You don't want a whole lot when you go right up to the top. So a little bit of pink if you're going to go right to the edge, and then just let that thing work. Stay along that little ridge line. That's all you got to do. Just literally let it fall off the knife, right? Especially when you're up at the top. You don't want to have a lot of pressure. Go down into your valley very gently and then pull away. You're not trying to get all the way over here, right? The shadow has to play in there somewhere. And once you come down that far, you might as well come over here. Start pulling down this way. Right? Very light little things. You don't have to cover everything in snow either. It doesn't all have to be the same thickness or anything. Let's just over here. Let me pop this guy out. Send him down the hill. Flying down. You see how it looks very white? You got a lot of pink in here though, right? We're using this pink, but when it's further away and we have our foreground that's going to be white, that's when it's going to make a lot of sense. All right, take a little bit of that black and a little bit of the blue, come back underneath this guy. Dump off little things. Start to shape our little valley. What does it look like? It's not going to be a perfect straight line along the edge, right? It's never going to be a straight line along the edge. So don't worry about it being a straight line along the edge. Have it be all crazy. Let your mountain do whatever it wants to do. And then come back and just make sure your angles are back where they need to be, right? And you get very cool little things happen. Ah, so much fun to just sit and play like this. I really enjoy hanging out with you guys and doing all this. Right, when we came down, and this guy was like hiding all of that shadow back there with his little ridge. So cool how the paint just breaks for us. Oh, there's a little bit of white where the red didn't mix in all the way. So we're gonna go over him a couple times until he blends in, right? Very neat. Very neat. All depends on how much paint you have on your knife, how much coverage, right? Look how many times I tried to go over these 3 areas and they didn't want to take the paint. So don't force it. You don't have the, not that it doesn't all have to be covered. No one has, there's nothing in the rule book that says, oh, you got to cover every single piece of that mountain with some paint, whether it be shadows or highlights. No, you don't. That's why we keep it this dark color to begin with. Right now, I've mixed more white into our little pile of pink, so it's a little brighter because we're a little closer to our sun over here. So when we come up and grab it up, start to slide it down. Sliding it down. Angles most important, right? It's got to be right. I mean, you can do it slowly, but I like doing it quickly. It just gives you that extra bit of randomness, right? Just a little bit of randomness if you're doing it fast. And if you're doing it slow, you tend to push a little too hard and you can mush it on there and get it all nasty, and it's no fun when it's like that. Right? Scrape up the whole rest of that little bit. We'll come back in here. Just try to dump it off as we're pulling down to the side, right? Very cool. A lot of depth, a lot of shadows. Very neat. Maybe we'll come back with that little bit of darkness. We don't need it here as much, but maybe back in here, right? And look at this pole that the direction of my poles, right? They're not straight down. They almost have like a little J to them. A little paint with Josh, right? Soft little things. I don't want to make them too dark, but you're going to have your darkest colors back there, furthest away from your sun, right? Very cool. Let it blend together. All about the direction. That's it. Okay, now we're going to take our big old 2-inch brush like that. And I told you before, ladies, 2 inches is big. And remember, if this is your first time watching a Paint with Josh video, tell me where you're watching from and what's your favorite sandwich. We'd love to know. Let's take this 2-inch brush like that. Boom, I'm going to come up here. Very softly start swiping up. See how it starts to blur that white? Starts to make it look less focused, like it's further and further away the more we do it, right? Maybe in that blue section, just so lightly, so light, popping up in there. Right back here, so soft, so soft. I don't want to move the paint, right? Just want to soften it the smallest touch. And you don't have to go all the way to the top. It's totally up to you where you stop, right? But don't go like this if your mountain goes to the side, right? You're gonna mess it all up. You gotta follow those angles of your knife. Remember when you turned, which way you were going, and it'll be nice and gorgeous, just like that, right? Didn't use a whole lot, didn't pick up a whole lot of paint on the brush either. So, now we're gonna take that same brush and come in here and start to tap. And then back, and forth, and back. And all in those same directional pulls, right? Not trying to create a straight line. You can see my fog's already wavy. It will drop down here. Right, but as long as we're on this side of the mountain, we're pulling or we're pushing this way. We're tapping and pushing this way. Now, I'm gonna flip and pull this way, tapping with the other end of the brush. Back here and tapping down, right? Not all the way up where your big heavy paint is, just down here at the bottom of it where it started to run out on your knife, right? And you came up in there, and back a little bit, back and forth, and back and forth. Make all this little bit of fog. Now watch all that dark color on the brush. It's gonna start to change what our fog looks like over here. Give us little dark areas and little differences and little things. Take our same brush. Don't go up and touch the paint. Just grab the base of that fog. All right, just the softest little bit. Make our circles with it. You don't want to pull the paint anywhere. Bang, just like that. Again, last time we're gonna feed it up in those same angles. You're gonna feed it up. Remember, we rotated and we're gonna go back this way, so now we have to go this way. Feed it up, turn this. If you came down, go up in that same angle. Right, we're doing our aerobics around here. Ladies, come on, girl. Come on now. There we go. A little bit of tap. All right, I never like it to be too much of a, like a hard line from the light to the blue or the black to the dark. It's all got to blend and be nice and soft. There we go. My goodness, that is a pretty little mountain right there. Pretty fantastic, if you ask me. Okay, let's grab our black and crimson and blue. We need to make up a whole bunch more of this purpley paint. You can notice we only have 5 colors today, so we're really using the heck out of this purpley mixture. And the lighter that you have it, the more you spread it, right? Since we're back here, we spread it very thin, so it got very light and mixed in with all the liquid white that's on the canvas. And now that we're going to use a little bit for trees, we need to be a little bit thicker, and then a little bit thicker, and a little bit thicker. And the more layers and layers and layers we get towards us, right? Oh man, 38 minutes. This is going for a while. All right, let's see. I need to put one more little piece. There's like missing, a little bit missing a little piece of snow out there. There we go. All right, now we're gonna get our fan brush. We're gonna come right there, wiggling it, jiggling it, getting it all into the bristles. This poor fan brush has never seen any dark color paint before. It's usually my light colored fan brush. And now I just got a new one out of the box. So now that's my light and this is my dark and it's about to change color forever. So I'm gonna take all that dark color. Don't need to get it on both sides, right? Especially if you have a big giant brush, you don't need to. I'm gonna do it because I know how to hold it right. Okay, we're gonna go back, we're gonna put this down. Take that whole big nasty bit of fan brush, come knock the camera over. Maybe we'll go from this side. We'll come up in here, just start tapping. Look at the tip tops of those trees. Nice and sharp, right? If they start to become not sharp, this is why we load the brush on both sides. Look at the sharpness of those tips. Oh my goodness. All the way over to the side. Why not? Let them grow forever, right? Now down in here, you need enough paint. You don't want to have so much paint that it's going to grow all the way down to the bottom of the canvas, right? I didn't load any new paint on the brush, and we've already gone through the very bit that's at the front of the bristles anyway, so now we're just sort of mixing. Maybe we'll dump a little bit on there. Remember, not all of your trees are going to be the same height or the same shape. You don't want them to be a dead straight line across. That's not good. Never want it to be just a straight line. Come over here and you just make a little mess, right? Leaving a little bit darker, a little bit longer on the sides. Now we're going to come in with our 2-inch brush. We're going to wash this guy first because he's already got enough dark paint on it. We don't want to spread it all over the place. So let's wash this off right into the bucket. dab it off on a paper towel because you got to. You don't want to have it wet when you go back up to touch your canvas, that's for sure. Just like that, we're going to take the 2-inch brush and we're going to go very lightly from the top to the bottom, or the bottom to the top. Just a little bit of pressure. You can see how it starts to flatten those trees out. Just like that, okay? We're going to come in and start tapping. Coming down, grabbing some of this paint from the bottom, this light color. It's nice and light. Come back up here, it's going to start to change all that dark color and become lighter, right? Kind of tap, go down and go up, and go down and go up. Almost doing it in circles. See what I mean? We're coming over here. And that way it'll be different. I've never done it before like that, but that's another way you could do it, I guess. All right, just kind of tapping up, dragging a couple little bits down. Tapping up, dragging a couple little bits down. Just like this. All right, we're tapping, and then we're dragging down. See how the color come down with it? And then the more that you mix that in with the colors around it, the less it kind of stands out, right? Last time, swipe up. We do stuff over and over and over again around here. It's hard to forget if you do the same things over and over again, right? Come in, same like we did our mountain, just a little twisty fog. But don't come up and touch your trees because you're going to touch one and it's going to pull it to the side and make it not look like a tree anymore. Right? A little bit of twisty fog, a little lower, a little higher, wherever you want it to be. And then you don't even need to pull out anything along the bottom. No horizon or anything. It's going to be fantastic. Fantastic. Okay. Just like that. You have this far off little bit of forest, misty little bit down there. Oh, it's beautiful. London always says to me, you need to paint like, what are those things? So if you want to add a little bit of detail, grab the smallest little fan brush you can find. And every so often you can take and just pop in a little, maybe this was like the big daddy of the forest out there. Right? He's like, oh, he sits out there and watches over all the other little guys. Right? Dab around him at the base, just like that. And so you can have room to smash with our other brush, right? Hulk smash. Maybe we'll do, I don't know, a little far off guy, maybe this guy. Anyone that you don't really like, you can always turn into a bigger, more detailed little version of a far off little happy tree back there, right? And again, you don't have to do too many, but dab it out around the side, and that way you got something to grab with your big brush. When you come in, start to pull it out, maybe from the center outwards, and then you can go back and forth, maybe come up a little bit. All depends on what you want it to look like, right? And now, all the base of that is all hidden in the forest. But when you swipe up, do not hit that guy. That's a lot of thick paint on there that you don't want to hit. Right? Dab away all that stuff. Very cool. Swipe it up. Don't try not to touch that thick little tree right there. There we go. Very neat, just like that. Now, when you see it, you go, all these are pine trees. They're just smaller or further away, less detailed, this, that, and the other, right? Okay. Now, why don't we're gonna grab up that same old brush right over here. Big old giant, it's like a size 14, I think. Yeah, size 14. 14 like my shoes. Yeah, right, I'd be flopping around like Ronald McDonald in size 14 shoes. Okay, I'm gonna take that big old brush, get it nice and full of paint again, and then maybe over here, there was just a little tree that lived out there, right? Now we're going to take the same brush, and instead of slapping straight at it or pushing it flat against the canvas, it's just at a little angle, and we're going to start doing little teeny tiny taps, right? You don't want to have a whole lot of paint on the brush when you're up here doing your little teeny tiny taps, because then you're going to leave big giant globs out there, right? You just want a little bit. And then the more that you push, the more you come down, the more you're going to push and extend your branches out. Maybe flip the brush over if it starts becoming more difficult. And you start to push your little branches out again, right? Creating your little body of your tree. And again, this isn't the end result of your tree. This is just the base shadows. What's it gonna look like when you throw highlights on? That's another question, all right? Now, since we've used up a lot of paint doing all of our trees back here, we need to go back and make up some more of that same old mix. Josh's favorite mix, blue, crimson, black. Makes this real deep purple color, which is also a great song, a great band. Is it a song or a band? Deep Purple. It's a band, right? I'm going to cut this part out of the video, that's for sure. Can't remember if Deep Purple is the name of the band. Yeah, Deep Purple is the band. No. Yes, no. Highway Star is the name of their most favorite song, and Deep Purple is the band. Yes, you're correct. No. Yes, no, I'm just messing with you. Okay, let's get all that thing. I hope you guys were commenting. Yes. Okay, let's go. We got all of our dark color mixed up. We're going to go back, and since I liked how this tip top works so well with this big old brush, why don't we go back and get it again? Not a whole ginormous amount of paint. Remember, you don't need a whole huge amount when you're making your shadows, especially at the top. You're going to have big giant globs, right? Maybe this guy was like right there. Sure lives there now. You don't want to split them too far apart. Remember, they like to grow close. They like to have friends, hang out, grow close out there in the wilderness. So little taps. The more you go down, the more you push in. Don't worry about what's behind it. Slap it onto the canvas. Get it down there, right? Just didn't even use the other side of the brush. Let's see. Can we do another one here? Let's see if we can. We'll do another one on this side. Get all this shadowy paint out of the way. Just a little guy right here. You do not want to go too high up into your snow, right? It helps push your mountain back further, but it's very difficult if you have a bunch of thick paint to get a bunch of thick paint to stick, right? Come down, slap at it. Slap, slap, slap. Doesn't even have to go all the way to the bottom. We're going to throw some bushes underneath anyway. So you guys have already seen it anyway. That's why you chose to paint this painting. You've already seen the picture. Little flip up over here. Bang, bang, bang. Very cool little tree. Look, still got all this paint. We might as well make some more. So go down through that, wiggle it through again. Over here, over there. Getting it all nasty. Maybe we'll come up and, I don't know, over here we have a smaller one just because I don't want to go through all that paint. Just like that. Right? He's almost too far away, but we'll make him work. We'll make him work. Couple little dabs, and then the more that you go in, the more you start to bounce from side to side, pushing harder. You get these cool little trees that pop out, right? We'll have to throw one in between now because these guys are just way too far apart. And this guy is right back in there. Little teeny tiny dabs. Leaving some of that gray fog in the background, right? People go, how do you paint the mist? I go, well, it's kind of, how do you not cover all the mist should be the question. Just like that. Nice funky little trees back here, right? Funky old trees. Again, they might look a little weird when you're doing your shadows. Just give them a chance until you hit them with your highlights. And they really turn pretty, I swear. Let me come over here, get this guy a little bit bigger. Right? Doesn't have to be the straightest thing when you get down to the bottom. It's going to spread out anyway. Just kind of a guideline. All right, should we do an old saggy Bob Ross tree? We got young, happy Paint with Josh trees. And then we could do an old saggy Bob Ross tree. We could do that. We could do that. Okay, so in order to do a tree that faces downwards and sags downwards, we're going to go like this. Come up and knock the brush. And then instead of tilting upwards, we're going to be tilted downwards. And we're going to start just popping in little things. And the more we come down, the more we push, and you start to fill in your little bit of tree. Just like that. Hopping back and forth. Gotta hop it. Hop it in, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. All right, we even got room to put one more big tree over here, I guess. Maybe a little guy. I don't want to fill up all the space. I never like going all the way to the edge of the canvas. Totally up to you what you want to do. But I don't really like going all the way. So why don't we put a little guy right there. And this guy's a little upward facer. Now I'll just have to remember who's which as we go to highlight it, right? Very cool. Bunch of little trees, soft little bit of forest back here. I'm gonna throw some bushes underneath. Oh, it's gonna be fantastic. Okay, let's see what we're gonna do. So now we can't just throw white onto these trees and have it look right. You have to have your shadows in there first, right? So let's go in to our liquid white. We've got a little dish of it down here. It's on the end. Little liquid white into our blue and our little bluey mixture down here. And so it goes this nice bright blue color, right? And that's gonna be our contrast to our bright white. It's gonna say, hey, there's a shadow right there. Okay, so take that little bit of blue, just like that. Very cool, right? Come knock the camera over. Let's do the big guy first. Gonna go touch the side, and just on the right side, dropping little dabs of blue, sometimes coming out over the edge, sometimes not, skipping lots of area, right? We don't need the whole thing to be bright. And we just left little triangle-shaped dabs from the corner of the brush. I can't explain it any better than that. Like, that's all you gotta do, right? A little bit of the blue on the other corner of the brush, and maybe we'll come over to this guy and just again popping up now because this is an upward facing tree. Just little dabs though, nothing crazy. Don't even have to go all the way to the bottom, about halfway around the tree. Wipe all the dark color off the brush, go back, get more liquid white, back into our blue section, get more of the blue. You don't want it to become super bright. The more you mix this white, it's gonna become brighter and brighter and brighter, right? We want it to stay the same. So every so often, go back, get a little bit of blue, come back in here. Tap, and then just go up little dabs. Look, the smallest little things. Sometimes I'm not even touching the tree, right? You don't have to go all the way to the bottom. It depends on what's going to be shown. Maybe this guy, we do go around there. Who knows, right? Maybe using the same side. Can we use, maybe down here, we use the same side, go upwards. Have to flip it over for the top just so we can get those small little details. And then again, just tapping, right? We have the liquid white on the brush, so it comes off very easily. If you don't have your liquid white on the brush, then you're going, I'm tapping, and all my brush is doing is getting dirty, and it's not leaving any blue on my canvas, right? That means your liquid white is not, your paint on your brush is not thin enough. You need to go back, get more liquid white, come back, mix it in so it's very watered. I mean, not so watery, right? But not as thick as the paint that we have here. And then you can come back and just start tapping in your little shadows in places where you want them. And then you can always go back in and cover those with your highlights, but you want to have half the tree kind of, you know, think about it as this side's coming out at us and this side's coming out at us, and they're going to meet right out here, right? And make a 3D tree. That's the goal anyway. Let's get a little bit more of that liquid white back onto our blue over here. And now in my mind, the shadows are going to be on the opposite side of the tree, right? If our light's over here, the shadow's going to be on this side. But if it's right here, especially if it's here, the shadows might be on the right side of our tree over here. So do what you want, but I'm going to do what I want to do. A little bit of blue onto this side. Little dabs, right? Popping up. Sometimes we don't even cover the shadows. Leave them out there, right? Looks like little cups. They're like little upward facing things just from touching it with the corner of the brush, right? Come back on this side. Don't want to touch too much at the top because there's not enough room, right? If you don't have enough dark to cover over, then don't go touching it up there. That would be foolish. A couple little blue shadows on that side, right? Very neat. Get all the color off that brush. So we're going to go back and use it for our white, and we want it to be nice and bright. Maybe we'll throw some pink in there too. Who knows? All right, so go back to our liquid white. Again, it's very drippy. Look, it wants to drip off of the brush right here. Whoop, right there, just drip down. All right, liquid white over here. Let's grab a little bit of red, just like 3 swipes though, because you don't want it to be so super pink. And mix it in with our titanium white. So titanium white with the liquid white, with our little pink highlights, just like that. And I mean, what side do you want to go on? Let's go over here first. All right, we're going to be touching upwards on the left side this time. Just little dabs. I'm not trying to cover all of the, right? We don't even go all the way down. Just a couple little things. That's it. That's all you really need. It's no joke. Like 2 little dabs of brightness. All you need, right? Flip the brush over. Then we're going to come this side. And again, just tapping like so lightly, like you're giving a baby just a little tap on the cheek with it. Right? So soft. So soft. Just like that. Cool little things start to happen. Very cool little things start to happen. Leave this down here, right? You don't have to continue your brightness all the way down. If our sun is back there, it's not going to make sense that the bottom of your tree is all lit up. So go back, get that liquid white, back up here into our pinky area. A little bit of pinkiness, right? And the more liquid white we use, the brighter it's going to be. So I'm going to start on my very first one out here. Tap the side, and then just trying not to cover all of those shadows. Just tapping up, right? Tipping, moving the brush, popping out rotating it around, staying on the edge, lighting up in areas. Hey, just like that. Get these cool little things to happen. Always turn the brush over when you're starting on a fresh tree. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard to get them to stick at the top. A couple little bits back there on that guy. Right? Don't want to have too many. If it's too bright, it's not going to make sense. Right? It's going to draw your eye to that bright spot. Kind of like mine is drawing my eye to this bright spot right in there. So I want to dull that down a little bit more with that darker paint. Right now, only the front of that little tree out there is lit up, and we can't see back behind it. You're never going to see every single thing of every single piece. Like, it just doesn't work like that. Nature doesn't work like that. A little bit more liquid white. Back into our pink slot. Over here, you got to have the titanium white with it, though. It's got to be the right kind of mixture, right? Tap on the edge, little things up, tip tap, chip chap, bounce up, a couple things here, there, everywhere. And then you decide what part of your tree is showing and what isn't, right? Leaving those two little our shadows to come out and our highlights to come out and meet us out here. Now let's get this small guy over here of mine as well. Just a couple little bits, because he is really hidden behind this big old saggy tree, right? Maybe there was a couple little bits got lit up down around the bottom. Maybe, right? Okay, now we're going to take the opposite side of the brush, come up here, dab on his little trunk, and then just start popping in little things, right? You see how the brush is being held? It's like I'm holding it on an angle down here and just touching with the corner, right? Bouncing it down. The more you get down to the bottom, the longer your little bristles might be, right? Here we go. Don't want to go back to too many areas. You get it too much light color in there, and it's not going to look right. And that is a gorgeous set of trees, let me tell you right there. Again, if this is your first time watching a Paint with Josh video, tell us where you're watching from and what's your favorite sandwich. Okay, guys, let's come in here. We're going to grab up all that dark color, and we might as well just use the majority of what we have left, because we're going to be making a whole lot of bushes up here. Just a giant amount. Just scrape it up. Try not to get any amount of light or white color in our dark mixture. It makes it go lighter very quickly, and that's not what we want. We want it to stay nice and deep and dark. All right, and we're going to take our little bit of our black and a little bit of our blue and mix that up into a separate one without any crimson. All right, no crimson, no white, just the black and blue for this guy over here. And then we'll have two different colors of our dark. Scrape that guy up like that. And you're like, why do you want to have two different colors? Because some of the times, the crimson being in with our very foreground stuff makes it seem the same color as it is back here in our, distance. So sometimes by taking the crimson out and just doing black and blue, like if we do our crimsony mixture over here and then we do the black and blues over here, it'll make those look further and these ones closer. Just trust. Trust in the process, okay? Trust in this crazy brain of this dude who's got like 120,000 fans and paints up in the spare room of his house. It's insane. Blows my mind. Literally blows my mind. All right, let's see. Okay, we're gonna come in here. We're gonna go into that dark purpley bit and just start bashing it in. Just smashing our brush into it, right? It's picking up all these little chunks of paint, different little things. And then we're gonna come back over here and start popping in those little things. Popping and moving. You don't want it just to be all the same. That's how you get those cool little bits along the top, is you're not just pushing in the same spot, right? Back to that purpley mixture. When we come down underneath here, our little bit of trees, a little bit of bushes, all sorts of stuff growing, and I never like it to be all the same height. So change it up. Give it a little bit of difference in there. Josh always talks about differences in color, right? Difference in color, difference in height, difference in everything. Some of the times you can get cool little effects if you let them hang over like that too. It's very neat. Okay, now since those guys are going to be further away, we're going to grab our 1-inch brush like this, starting way up here, very softly, pulling it out and working in a downward angle, right? Maybe we got to come up into the things and drag them down a little bit more. You have that little space, and then drop down and underneath, drag it down again, right? You can't just go from the same spot all the time. Maybe this guy got pulled in that direction. Maybe he was in there, so there was a little bit of space in between the trees or the bushes or whatever. Or if you don't like that, then you go back in and you just pop in your little section of bush again. You know what I mean? You can work it back and forth until you like how it looks. That's what it's all about. How do you like it, right? A little bit. I don't want to have too much of the dark purpley color out here, so don't pull too far. And make sure we're very straight on our little horizon back there, just like that. Very neat. You get that far off little bit of distance in between our bushes and our faraway trees back there. Right, and since we have all this color, let's go into that darker blue and black mixture. Right, and then we're gonna come over here for these guys. Start popping them in a little bit lower, right? These guys are a little bit up higher. This first one anyway is gonna be a little bit lower. We'll start working our way towards us, hiding some of those light colors that we put in there, right? Back to the black and blue so it stays dark. There we go, popping in little things. Don't wanna cover up all of our bits of trees and stuff, right? But it's never just a perfect little mix out there in the wilderness. There's gonna be stuff everywhere. So don't worry about having too many little bushes or any little things like that, right? And again, they kind of go in a little smiley face almost. Very neat looking. Now, since this is a different color, it's going to stand out from this very light color that we pulled out back here. So we're gonna come down at a different angle and sort of have them meet up just like that. I mean, just like that, guys, just like that. Getting lower and lower and lower as we come back here. Different places, right? Don't all pull from the same spot. Don't pull on the same angle. Maybe these guys start to come back this way. But if we don't pull them back this way, they're not gonna look like they're going back that way, right? Very cool little piece. Remember, start coming up with your names. And by the time we get done signing it over here, then we'll ask you for your names and we'll name the painting. Maybe you might get to name it. Choose your name. Okay, we're gonna use that same brush, just like this. We've beat the devil out of it, and now we've gone back and dried it off on our paper towel. And we need to decide with these same blues and same little pinky white colors, right? The same piles, because we only really have the same colors, that we need to decide what's in the light and what's in the shadows. So let's get a little bit of our liquid white and dab it into our brush. Not a whole huge amount. Come down into the blue section and again, try to grab some of the blue from up here. There we go. Get a little bit of that darker color in there. Excellent. Okay, now on the back side of these, maybe some of them have a little bit of bluey shadows back in here, right? Just little blue areas that are gonna stand out against our real bright whites or our pinks. Wherever you think is in the shadow is what's going to be in the shadows. Maybe these guys back here never even saw the light. With all those trees back in front of them, they're too far away to see all that light. All right, a little bit more of that blue. Maybe on the back side or the underside of these guys down here. Maybe back behind the tree, you'd have a little bit of bluiness. Right? All depends. What do you want yours to look like? Soft little bits. Soft little things. All right, get all that blue color off of our brush. Now we're gonna come in with our liquid white and our pink, right? So we'll go back into that same little section, grab a little bit of the red over here, into that white, kind of make that pink with the titanium white and the liquid white, and maybe up into here, come above your shadow a little bit. Doesn't all have to be covered, right? Oh yeah, oh that is gorgeous right there. A little bit of light in there, a little bit of shadow with that blue. Very pretty, very pretty. Okay, go back into our liquid white, back into our titanium white and little pink mixture. And maybe back in here, and a whole nother little bush pop out and get a little bit of light right there. And then these guys back here were too far away, remember? Too far away. So maybe out there, smallest little touch with the brush. Leaving it little areas of light and dark, right? Coming back in, tapping. Maybe just the tip tops and the bottoms don't see much light being back here behind these trees, right? Tip top of this guy, because he's out there. And a little bit down. Woo, it looks frosty back here, guys. Are you guys getting cold yet? I sure am. I sure am. That's a wicked little painting right there. Okay. Now, remember, get ready to to throw your names in for this painting. What do you want to name it? Be thinking of your names now, because we're getting down to it. Remember, if you're watching the tutorial, write the name in the comments, and it really helps me out if you guys comment. So, last little detail, we're going to take our palette knife just like this, and in the very, very darkest areas, come in, scrape in a couple little sticks and twigs. Something's back there holding up all these little flowery bushes and stuff, right? We're not going to see all of them, but we might see a few. Maybe the further away ones, right? They're out in the front. These guys back in the shadows underneath these blues over here. Back over there. A few little things. Couple little things. Nothing too many. Never too many. All right, now let's get a little bit of that pinky white. I don't want to have too much liquid white in here. Just want to have the red and the bright white, titanium white, right? And then maybe back in here, we just start bringing back some of that lighter color, sliding it down. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Sliding it down. Maybe this guy, we go back this way, letting it mix in with that dark color. I don't want it to be super bright back there. You really want it to be brighter out on the front out here, right? And then maybe here, it lit up and mixed very softly. Pull it backwards, back into the trees, back into the bushes. Very soft though. Right, that's it, because you can always take this little bit in the middle. Very soft, but it just makes it look more natural to me, like it's wind swept back in there. And then right here in the front, very cool. Just make sure your angles are right, right? It's like a little smiley face, that's all it is. Little smiley dialies, smiley faces. All right. Bang, just like that. That is fire. All right, let's take our liner brush. We're gonna go in, grab up the birds right here. So mix up your dark color, that purpley color, with the crimson, black, and blue on one of your small liner brushes or your script liner. We're gonna come over here and maybe off in the distance, maybe just into the clouds this time. We were flying through. Bang, just like that. Excellent. This brush is like so on the edge. I need a new liner brush so bad. So let's see. All right, let me finish the tutorial real quick and I'll cut the other camera off and then we'll hang out on TikTok for a little bit, okay? Well, of course we have to sign the dang thing. So let's sign it back here, as far away from the sun as possible. Just like that. Oh man, it actually worked on the first time. How about that? Okay. All right, guys. Well, I can't wait to see your version of this painting. I'm sure it's fantastic. Make sure you send it in to me to my Facebook page. And until we see you guys again next time, take care. Have the rest of a good day. And bye-bye.